One word to sum up the past 18 months as I've experienced it would be grounding. It just built so much humility and gratitude. So many things that I would complain about having to do or go to, I realized were such blessings in my life.
Eye-opening, because it definitely forced us to reflect on what worked and what didn't, and forced a lot of necessary change.
Perseverance, I guess, because everybody just had to keep on marching on.
Ooh. My experience of school through the pandemic was rough.
One word that could describe this experience for me would be unique, because it wasn't exactly normal.
I mean, I liked being at home. I had just gotten a new dog, so it was fun doing online. And I felt like most of my teachers, for the most part, got everybody to speak. And a lot of people did turn on their cameras, so it wasn't super alone.
I really didn't like doing hybrid because I'm a really social person. I like talking to everyone, but when you're on a Google Meet, you really can't do that. And lunch and everything, you just spent it at your house, and you didn't really talk to anyone.
It became very hard to socialize with people, especially peak COVID when we weren't able to see anybody else. It made it very hard to have those social interactions that you kind of need in a high school.
Having a sibling at home almost made it harder because our Zooms were at the same time, and it was very hard to find your corner of the house, especially because my mom's also working from home and my dad sometimes would have to be home. And so when all four of us were on our Zoom calls, it got very noisy, and sometimes we would steal each other's Wi-Fi, so there were definitely some times when the Wi-Fi got spotty.
It was really hard because some of the students online did really well and other students didn't participate at all. So some kids were behind when we went back hybrid, and it was really tough because the teachers were doing their best, and some kids, since they weren't in the classroom, they acted up more, so that was hard for me. But I think the teachers did a really well job considering that they had to teach from a computer in their house.
Wearing a mask all day definitely got stuffy as the weather got warmer, but honestly, I didn't mind it as much as I know a lot of people. I didn't find it a super big challenge. I mean, when we went outside, we could take them off, so that was definitely helpful.
Going back in person was so much better. It progressed so much faster. It was great to, meet everyone that I forgot about, honestly, and I just felt like it was better. I just forgotten what it was like to actually learn and progress.
Some of the greatest challenges I had personally was being stuck in my house with my family the entire time.
Good morning, Jesse. How you doing?
I do play basketball, but I wasn't able to do it because of COVID. They never got together. They really didn't practice. It was kind of okay, see you next season. So I was going from going to school and basketball and working every day to not doing anything.
I am a dancer. I do ballet 3 days a week. So dance had to be moved virtually during the remainder of last school year. And so we would pin our teacher on her Zoom screen, and the rest of us would clear out an area of our house to dance.
Because I'm in environmental technologies and COVID had a huge impact on that, we go on field trips every Tuesday and every Thursday without fail, unless it's pouring rain or there's a tornado warning or something like that. We were gonna go to the Wareham wastewater management place. We were gonna take a boat ride in sophomore year. That completely got cut out, which was super sad.
I'm a runner for cross country. I'm actually the captain this year, and then I'm also playing varsity lacrosse this year as well. And I try to do student council when I have the extra time between my sports, but it was interrupted because of just COVID, so we had to push them all back. I was so used to having all those events and clubs and sports, and all of a sudden I was at home, isolated in my room.
Miss Lawson, my math teacher, has definitely gone above and beyond, and I hope she knows it because we all tell her how much we appreciate her. She would stay with us for an hour and a half, 2 hours on that directed study Zoom call, and even after school she would make the time for us, and before school I would go to her room and try to finish the homework before my first period of the day started, and so she really helped us out. She just kind of speaks our language and knew what we needed, and she was there for us in math and outside of it.
The change that I'm really starting to enjoy is having the ability to go outside for class, even if it is just for a couple, 1 or 2 periods. So we're able to, for example, my physics teacher, Mr. O'Neill, this year, took us out within the first couple weeks and let us do a simple physics lab outside. We were still learning the same material, but it was nice to be in a different environment, especially going straight from the virtual to being able to go outside and see the physical world. It's pretty nice.
My English teacher, I love her so much. She's like the best. We had to do like this scavenger hunt, but we did it like the people who were in class, like I was in class that day, you worked with someone that was at home, and luckily it was one of my close friends, so it wasn't like really awkward, and we actually went through the scavenger hunt really well.
My English teacher's name is Mr. Cody, and he did a great job making sure that we all felt comfortable. English class is super discussion based, and that can be especially challenging when like half the kids don't even have their screens on, but he did a good job working both with breakout rooms and with big group discussions to make sure that we were all talking, having our voices heard. For example, instead of doing a final essay for our Shakespeare unit, we had a project where we made a podcast, and we were able to do that both like online and a little bit together in class. It did give us a sense of feeling like together while also being COVID safe.
I do feel like the pandemic had a large impact on my mental health because I like normally struggle with anxiety, and then being at home all the time, it made it even harder to like communicate with my friends because being at school, it like forces me to like socialize, and when I'm at home, I'm just like, oh, I don't have to anymore, it's fine. And so it like definitely made me a lot more nervous to socialize.
I definitely had friends and peers who struggled mentally during the pandemic, and that was hard, but I was glad that I could be a support system for them, and they got the help they needed, and they also got the support that they needed, which was great, and I think we're all doing so much better now that things are finally starting to cool down a little bit.
During the pandemic, staying physically active was something that I struggled with. My house didn't have too many options to really practice tennis, especially because can't just hit a ball down the street and run and get it. So I felt like I wasn't as physically active as I should have been, and that's something that I do regret during the pandemic.
I definitely do have some concerns with having to catch up with school, especially chemistry and math, when there's specific units that you need to know and specific foundations that you need to build on. I definitely feel worried about going into higher level classes.
My freshman years ended with COVID, so I never had a final. This past year, they canceled finals for most of my classes, so I've never had a full high school final, which I'm a little nervous about. I'm going into my junior year, which is the hardest year of high school. I haven't had full experience, writing more than one research paper at a time, doing big projects like that, especially group projects because of COVID. So I am a little worried about that. The actual material, I'm not so much worried about. I know that they will catch us up in that way, but I am nervous for the big things.
The guidance counselors have been there from day one. First day it happened, they're like, okay, 2 weeks off of school. If you have any concerns or questions, this is an uncertain time, was basically what they were saying. And they were like, we're here for you. We're going to immerse ourselves with you more than we have in the past, just because we know you need us right now. And that just means a lot to me as a student because I need that guidance.
Given the situation with the national racial reckoning that we did have in the United States, conveniently right during an also public health crisis, I think it was particularly impactful for a lot of our student body. It really drove people to look in depth into how they were reacting, and I know it was very much integrated into a lot of my coursework for the better.
I had conversations in school with
like teachers that I'd never really had before about social justice issues, which I thought was good because they tend to avoid those subjects because they can be controversial. But I think that you need to talk about them so that people understand.
Past 18 months, I've definitely found a voice in social justice, especially in my community. You know, we've had many peaceful protests that I've attended. As an Asian person, I wanted to be there for my community. And also in the Black Lives Matter protests, I overall just found a voice as someone who is part of a minority group. And I'm really glad I did that because it made me more aware of things going on in our world that is a problem that need fixing.
Mashpee's okay in diversity, but a lot of my classes we would be talking about these kinds of racial and social justice inequities, and I would be the only person of color in my class. And so a lot of it would fall on me to speak up, which wasn't really fair because I can't speak for the whole experience, of course.
To help, smooth out racial injustice, I really do hope to become an educator or a teacher. It's something that I've always wanted to do since I was little, and in doing that, I hope to create a classroom where everyone feels equal, where there's no hate, there's no bullying. So that's what I hope to do.
I think COVID does have a unique silver lining. It brought us all together in a unique way that it never had before, but I do really like that we had a very innovative approach to how we made things at school and transformed things so that we were able to do them given the circumstances. Such things as having outdoor lunches, having opportunities for asynchronous learning, I think was great for students. And also having a lunch program for students who were less fortunate in our community or for students who were fully remote and weren't having access to that at home. We had programs like this before in the past, but it was really bolstered by COVID.
One thing I think will really stick around after the pandemic, and our school administration is pushing for it too, and the school community, is Freshman Buddies program, where we pair upperclassmen with freshmen to help them navigate the school and all the opportunities at the school. And it was a really great way to build community, and so we hope to continue it for years to come.
This year we changed our entire schedule and we added a directed study period at the end of every other day. And so we would be one-on-one or small groups with our teachers, and when we were at home it was over Zoom, and they would invest in us and they would help us with our homework and the assignments that they gave us, and that really made all the difference, was that extra help they gave.
My hopes for this year is that it goes as smoothly as it possibly could. I hope the teachers are easygoing on us and not completely strict or what they might usually be for other classes. But I have faith in our school. I think they'll do really well.
If I could sum up everything in the past year or so in just one word, I would say hope. I think that during the pandemic, everyone had the hope that we would get through it. And I think that united us in many ways that we didn't feel before. So I would say hope is something that united us.